Hello and welcome to SFLiberalBuzz, where the truth and humor has a liberal bias. That's how you know it's liberal, because it's actually really funny and it's true. So we've got lots of guests and lots to get to. We're going to run through the Twitter posts. Police and officials warning of the 420 crackdown. Now that's, the cops will be looking for open containers, people selling t-shirts without the proper permits, and weed sales. But they don't, nobody got a ticket for smoking last year, and they probably won't get any, I won't guarantee, but they might not get them this year. Now, there will be extra muni buses, so, to accommodate, and unlike the Giants games.
Yeah, so that means if you happen to be at Golden Gate Park on Sunday 420, and if selling marijuana is a source of income for you, be careful, police are looking at a ticket of this. And if you want to bring in trash bags, please bring in as many trash bags as you can. This is the main focus on the cops this Sunday is trash.
You can help and clean up afterwards as well if you want to stay.
Now the next Twitter story that I have here is $3,200 is the average price of housing in San Francisco. So, by the way, all these stories can be found on my Twitter feed altogether. These are things that interest me because they have a liberal bias. So, and this number. Call this number to call in, and you can also follow us on Twitter, and we'll give you a follow back. So many faces.
These are our Twitter handles right here. Denise, Dorey, and mine is
up at the top.
second
Yeah.
one.
So we've got the Housing Authority has a lot of legal problems. You can read about that. That Henry Alvarez just that could take up a whole nother show. So anyway, there's a recipe to make cannabis oil on my Twitter feed.
Very helpful.
Finders, weepers, bed bugs found on the BART train. I guess you all heard if you watch Channel 2, which I don't. So.
Which means bed bugs are no longer confined to the Tenderloin.
Right, and they also get you high. They're psychedelic, so it makes you hallucinate. You just smoke them, so just so you know. And the super rich are richer than we thought, hiding huge sums. That's another story. Now, I had Surveillance Self-Defense was my last Axis of Love show, and it's very good. It tells how to use encryption to basically not be under surveillance. It's a way to keep. It's impossible to trace activists, people who are normally traced by Homeland Security and such. And the Leland Yee Brown Connection in the Culture of Corruption was a great article. It's about 12 pages long. I highly recommend you read it. And that was our last show. You can watch that if you missed it. And District 8, most competitive supervisor race, high stakes involved. And the last Twitter post for today, DOIs for even a trace of weed being considered in California, which in my opinion is absolutely wrong. So then we're gonna show a little video next, a YouTube video. So this is about BanTheBox, Fair Chance Ordinance. This is our main topic for this evening. So.
And today we have two of our guests here, a community organizer from Community Action Partnership, Anakh Rama, and a lawyer from the lawyer.
I'm actually a clinic coordinator at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights.
Thank you. Roxanne Dominguez Shell. Sorry, I apologize for that.
No worries.
So we're gonna roll this video for you, and then we'll talk about what we're talking about, the BanTheBox Fair Chance Ordinance.
Straight up, a company that really took a person's skill set and not what happened in the past. I screwed up. I don't want to have a life sentence of poverty or unemployment, which is secondarily imposed. The judicial system did their job. So they imposed, I did it, and I'm good for it now. I'll never do those things again. But others need that chance, they need that fair chance. And they haven't been able to get it. And then you wonder why people do weird things. They're trying to survive. They're real. And when you can't, if you're out of the game, what do? Well, you sell popcorn on the sidelines, maybe. Maybe. Others have to do other things like scalp tickets in the parking lot. And others, worse still. So let's not let it get to that. Those individuals don't need to get to that. They figured it out. They got it. And they want a fair chance. And that's what this is all about.
When was this Fair Chance Ordinance press rally?
The press rally, I believe,
February.
It was at the beginning of February because the actual Board of Supervisors vote happened in the
They say that
February.
They say that the BanTheBox is good for the economy.
Yes.
Yes, and drug policy reform is a topic often discussed increasingly. So it looks like the arc of history is moving towards decriminalizing a lot of people because we incarcerate more people than anywhere in the world here, by far. And BanTheBox, by the way, is an assembly bill brought forth by Roger Dickinson, Democrat, and signed by Governor Jerry Brown, and it takes effect on July the 1st this year. And law enforcement,
state
yes,
Yes.
for the entire state.
The local ordinance actually was passed unanimously by the Board of Supervisors, which is actually a fairly rare occurrence. That was passed signed, I believe, on February 4th. The actual law doesn't go into effect until September. That gives us an opportunity to do stuff like this, where we educate the public on their rights. So, if I can, the BanTheBox, or we changed the name to Fair Chance Campaign because there can be kind of a little bit of confusion over big box stores with that. So the Fair Chance Act, basically what it does is before you, if you have a former incarceration experience or criminal history, you would have to mark a little box on an application for housing or for employment, and that most of the time would preclude you from going further along the process. Most employers would just look at that and pass up your resume, pass up your application.
Yes, so it is a very hindrance for a lot of people.
Exactly, and so what our legislation does is it moves that process to where you wouldn't be asked about your criminal conviction or history until after you've shown that you've had a chance to show that you're qualified for the particular job. And then that information can only be used against you if the job or housing has something to do with your previous conviction.
Let me see if I got this correct. If somebody was well qualified for a welding job, they want to have the proper education, the proper certifications, the extra employment background, but they're convicted for a marijuana possession and they're automatically banned from employment.
It isn't actually automatically ban them from employment, but employers would often look at the box that was checked saying that you had a previous conviction and automatically disregard that. Automatically disregard your application. So that was a hindrance that a lot of people faced, and that it keeps you actually from even applying to places if you know that they're not even going to take a look at your application. One of the things that's really exciting about our Fair Chance Act here in San Francisco is we didn't just extend it towards applications for employment. It's also on applications for housing, and we are one of the few municipalities that has done that with extending it towards housing. And as we know, a lot of people have a lot of barriers in getting housing, and so this just alleviates one of those barriers for people and really opens up opportunities for people, which is why we're really excited about it.
Thank you.
So who would be opposed to this sort of thing? Have you experienced any opposition by, say, the prison industrial complex,
One of the things that's
police officers, or
One of the things that was really exciting about it is we had a really broad coalition of people that were fighting for it, and surprisingly, people that were on our side would be the Chamber of Commerce, the Sheriff's Department, and the District Attorney's Office were also pushing for this because they understand that giving people a chance is going to reduce recidivism, and that's basically why we had a pretty broad coalition, and also why we had a unanimous decision on the board is because, when it comes down to it, people are really about opening up opportunities for people.
the rise in prison population correlates with outsourcing of our jobs. Completely correlates with since the early 80s when we started outsourcing millions and millions of jobs, and basically generations were just thrown to the side so that they could pay people tiny wages. So,
One of the things that started it was one of our residents, Donnell Fuller. He had gotten a job as, I believe it was doing maintenance or janitorial, and had been working for several months. On his application for employment, he had put previous convictions that he had dealt with, so they were fully aware of that. They pulled him in the office and say, hey, we have to let you go because you didn't put on your application, you didn't notify us that you had a trespassing charge back in 1974. So one of the things that the legislation, and I believe Roxanne can talk more about this, is there's a look back period that we defined, and we defined the parameters on how employers or housing providers can actually use the information that they glean.
I'm actually glad it took 40 years. Unfortunately, it took 40 years, but I'm actually glad something process actually took forward to help people actually get back to work.
Yeah, so under the new ordinance, employers cannot ask you about convictions or arrests on the job application. They cannot ask you during your first live interview. But once you've had your interview and once you may have been given a conditional offer, then they have a right to ask you about convictions within the last 7 years. But even then, they must provide you with the notice of your rights under the Fair Chance Act. They must provide you with a background check, and when taking into consideration your conviction, they need to do an individualized assessment. So they need to take in consideration if the conviction relates to the job, how long ago the conviction occurred, and if you have any evidence of rehabilitation before denying you based on just that conviction.
Or the diversion program. Right?
This is going to help a lot of people currently just sort of released right now and trying to get back into quote unquote society, get back on their feet, try to get a job again.
Well, it's because during Reagan's era, it began a whole cycle of guilt and I've got it written down. I thought about this all night, so I mean, Reagan era, he created like scandals where they weren't. He was the scandal back then, and so to take the attention off him or something, it seemed like it. Remember this Just Say No campaign with Nancy Reagan? That's when it started. All this, they convinced society to approve of mass incarceration of people for minor drug offenses, and drug including marijuana, which I don't call drug, and I don't like to really call it marijuana or cannabis.
That's another discussion, another show.
Yeah, it's another show, but it was stigmatized. So that contributed a lot to society allowed. That's what got us the 3 strikes law too, you know, and now we public opinion's turning around, and that's good. It's
53% of California voters would actually approve of legalizing marijuana.
One of the things that I found during our discussions on the Fair Chance Act that really stuck out with me, and I've really tried to implement this into my own language, was somebody had mentioned the use of the term ex-offender, and wanted to make people aware that the use of the term ex-offender is actually offensive, and people would prefer terminology such as formerly incarcerated. Ex-offender kind of implies that you've done something really wrong, haven't gotten over it. Formerly incarcerated implies you have been in a situation and you've moved on from it. And I think that's something that perhaps your viewers may be interested in adopting themselves, is changing that inner dialogue and the language that they use when describing people that have these barriers, because it can be either uplifting or it can be degrading.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we may not even know until the affected parties speak up and say something as to whether it can be either one or the other.
You mentioned the word offender. It's a stigmatic word because most of quote-unquote, I began to say, society hears the word offender, they think of the word sex offender. The word offender is automatically a red flag in somebody's back of somebody's mind. It's like, oh wait, there's an offender here, okay, let's push this application aside.
And speaking of those types of offenses, one of the protections that is in the law is that the criminal history cannot be used against you unless it has something to do with the job or the housing you're going for. So people that have those particular barriers to employment or housing would automatically be disqualified from family housing, from working with families. So those protections are put in place to protect the public, but at the same time, there's no reason why, if you were convicted of a marijuana, offense or whatever, that you cannot do a job, that you cannot be productive. And
let me interrupt you for a second. There's an example that Community Housing Partnership has actually implemented this. Would you like to elaborate on this? If we elaborate that, I'm going to give the phone number in case anybody has a hard time seeing the number. It's 415-861-6648. That's 415-861-6648. If you can elaborate on a sexual crime that CHP Community Housing Partnership has actually implemented to help get somebody back into a role of working again, getting a life back again. Do you know about the situation with this?
To be honest with you, I don't know really much about that, but I can say that at Community Housing Partnership, our goal and our mission is to build self-sufficiency and reduce homelessness. And that means that we take care of everybody that comes through our doors. We do reach out, we do try to help everybody build their lives back. And so that would include people with more difficult pasts. But I'm not sure with the familiars of any program that we might have going on.
Well, without breaking down the anonymity of anybody's anonymity, I just know that Community Housing Partnership is an equal opportunity employer, and they welcome everybody as well. They will hire a sex offender, and if the actual charge deals with children, they will not employ this person near children.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. But they will give this person a second chance to get another job again.
Just because you have a history with difficult issues like that doesn't mean that you don't need housing. Doesn't mean that you don't need employment. In fact, if you don't have those things, it's going to be more difficult for you to be able to handle your inner demons, as they say.
Exactly.
So giving people opportunities for either employment or housing, no matter what stage or place in life they are, is really about keeping our community safe and together and on the up and up.
Which means including
Formerly incarcerated individuals.
folks, including them in the community and integrating them in the community, because being compartmentalized is the first step to reoffending. Or
just because you did the crime, it means you did the time. The whole point of the current judicial system is you break the law, you get incarcerated, you get rehabilitated. It's not locked up for such time to get released. This is not the way the system's supposed to go. This system, the way the Fair Chance campaign is to tell people that actually broke the law, rehabilitated in prison or in jail, and come back out. It's like, okay, I need a job, I need housing. Oh wait, I got a conviction here, I can't do this anymore. Now, thanks to you guys and the community, it's possible.
One of the things I think is amazing from an organizational standpoint, a community organizational standpoint. This was actually one of the first big projects that in my new job that I assisted with. And one of the things that really struck with me was the courage and the boldness it took for people with incarceration issues to come forward and to speak at rallies, to speak on YouTube, to educate the public, to educate the public servants. That takes a lot of courage within you to stand up and say, hey, I made mistakes in the past. I'm being abused because of this, and I don't think that's right. It's really impressive to me, and I learned a lot from those people. I'm really glad to have been able to work with them.
So is there some sort of a drop-in center or well, I know that at 111 Taylor, there's a place where people come in right in straight from San Quentin and other prisons, and they go there and they have rooms for them. And I know they had a fire there one day, and they had them all in Bodecker Park, and the Red Cross was there and all that. Those people who live there, the ones that live there, I'm sorry, I said those people. Do they have? Do you make contact with them ever?
I actually have in some of the things that we're working on. We really try to reach out to our residents and the broader community.
But from now until when the ordinance goes into effect, we will have an educational campaign to educate employers of these new laws and to educate the community of their new rights. The Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights has put together a Know Your Rights handout for the Fair Chance Ordinance, and it tells you in detail all your rights that you have under this new ordinance. And also, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights has a Second Chance Legal Clinic the last Tuesday of every month in the Fillmore. And if you have any questions about your rights, or if you need help enforcing the Fair Chance Ordinance, you can come to our clinic the last Tuesday of the month, and lawyers are going to be there to advise you.
And that information will be posted at least on my Twitter account.
You can also go to the Fair Chance Campaign Facebook website, we're keeping the Facebook website was kind of a way for us to gather information and stuff, and we're keeping it open so that people can check it every once in a while and see when we're doing educational opportunities like this to inform the public about your new, really awesome rides.
Well, we want to thank you guys for coming today.
Yes, thank you for having us.
And the arc of truth and justice has a liberal bias too.
And we have about 45 seconds left.
Buy a
So-
street sheet. Be sure and buy a street sheet. It's good reading. It's good. It's well written, and it's only $1, and the money goes straight to help the person. And you can actually tell.
We also have BACK, BACK, cares.com. It's a transference of license in Ocean 1423. They have an open house April 22nd and 29th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
And Bach hearing at the Planning Commission Thursday, May 1st at San Francisco City Hall, 12 to 3:30 p.m. And it's a dispensary that needs your help. And next show is going to be Let's Talk Sports in 7 minutes. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching SFLiberalBuzz. Bye-bye.
What? Did it just turn off? What just turned off?
Just gone. All there was a concrete slab. We went through.
Relationship.
What just happened? Okay, hold on. Okay, something's wrong.
Stores
It's not
that
working
sold
again.
that type of
Great.
those materials, like
Okay.
lumber and all the different stuff when they.
Look, what's my
It
image
was
doing there?
the
The
story
TV
that
is
set a new
actually-
benchmark for
your TV
bad
spies on you.
landlords.
The defendants
You know that, right?
sold.
What?
Your TV is
Oh,
spying.
yeah,
Look,
sure,
look,
yeah.
look. What's my image doing
It
there?
was something that they were
What?
praying
What
for,
image? What are you talking about?
Luckily, my brother and I
What?
were in a position to.
My image was on my camera
to
from
the-
your TV. How did the TV get my image? That's all I want to know.
I
the
don't
joy on
know.
their face.
I'll show you what
just
I'm
to
talking
meet
about.
Now
us,
it's not
let
working.
alone
Hold on, it
for,
was working, but now it's
you
not.
know,
Okay, just give me a
Look.
What's it?